I don't know if I want to say like all the stuff that happens or how to, where it won't change the way like people look at you. I don't want them to see me as, oh my God, I'm so sorry, you're so strong, that's incredible. I don't want those words at all. I'm not strong. I just lived my life, my only thing I knew. Every single person has a story, and there are so many layers to all of us, and everyone has been dealt their own cards of shit that they had to play out. I just don't want people's perception of me to change because they feel pity.
And that's what I don't want people to, change their perception of who I am, because of they feel pity. That's something that really resonated with me because, you know, we want to be athletes, full blown, full grain, corn fat athletes. But there's this thing, where we're missing a leg, either I'm paralyzed, that in a way, sometimes it gets in the way of you being the real athlete that you want to be. You feel that way? You think?
Yeah, I don't think it gets in the way of me being want to be the athlete I want to be. I think what's frustrating is those views and people's perceptions. I think kind of it's so hard not to let that get inside your head of what outside people are perceiving of you, and that they're only seeing your chair or your legs or a cane or whatever assistant device you have. And I think that's the frustrating part is they see the outside physical difference
First.
and they're already first and they're already in their mind have made up who you are, what you can do, and that it's, oh my gosh, like I get comments all the time like, oh, it's a shame, God, like you'd be so pretty, but I don't know why God wasted it on you and just you have no legs now kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
why do people have to see the outside physical stuff first?
That's like I said. It kind of it resonated to me because I feel the same way. Why can't people look at me like my wife did and just see the guy? Like Aaron looks at you and see the girl. You know what I mean? So that's something that.
Oh my God, so many times, like, I don't know, I feel so bad that we're like driving and we're going to the grocery store and I start walking away and I'm like, crap, I forgot the chair, I forgot Aaron's wheelchair. Cause like I don't see the wheelchair, I don't see my legs, I don't see like all that stuff. And
Right.
it's
And that's one thing that that we're trying to change. That we're trying to, I would say, change. It's more like educate people. And
yeah,
one thing that I want people to see on you, is really the journey that got you from you know the little girl, to where you are now. And you've been through a lot. And I know we all have our stories. We all have our piece, on the puzzle. And
yeah.
but yours, man, it's pretty incredible. If you don't mind, and I know you don't have to get into details, but I know that when you were born, you know, um, let me ask you this: when did you realize yourself that, wow, I'm a little different than everybody else? Was there a moment, because here's the thing, my son was, he was born, I was already in the chair, Spencer, so he grew up with me being, there's nothing different, there's nothing to adapt to, you know what I mean?
Right.
But eventually there was a time that he realized, wow, my dad is not like everybody else, you know what I mean? Was there a moment for you, then you like, you're looking around and like, wow, I'm not like those other girls?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that moment kind of for me came a lot later on. It wasn't until I was in middle school or about to get like transition from like elementary school to middle school that I realized how different I was, and that different was bad, and my difference was not a good thing at all. So around like 13, 12 and 13 is when I think it hit me and resonated with me. And then it just kind of, from there, as a girl with a physical disability that's so, you cannot hide it.
Right.
It just kind of went down to a downward spiral from there.
Did you go to public school?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, that must have been not easy.
I lived in Buffalo, New York first. When I came to America, that's where I first lived. And I was just like a kid. It was like a rediscovering life for the first time in so many ways because it was just so new.
How old?
And then
How old were you? 7?
I came, yeah, I was 7.5. I was almost 8 when I came here. Because of course, when you're 7, that half counts. You're like, excuse me, I'm 7.5 as a kid. Almost 8. But yeah, and so I think what was hard is I was moving from my second home in Buffalo, New York to Kentucky. And it was during a time when I was 13. And as a teenager and a girl, like you're already just like,
It must be so.
Yeah. So I think it just was a little, that extra challenge of moving to a new state, needing to make new friends again, needing to go through a second amputation. I think that all happened, just was hard to deal with at first.
When when how old were you when you had your first operation? You know, for the legs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was 9 the first time because when my mom adopted me and we came over, I didn't speak any English, and she didn't want to basically just like take me from the only home I knew, from the only language I knew, and to someone like I didn't know who she was or that this was going to be a forever thing either. So she didn't want to just all of a sudden take my legs as well. And so she wanted me to kind of attach to her first and do just kind of like heal emotionally and that way before I start physically healing. And at 9, I had my first amputation. And then when I was 13, the doctors basically told me they were not going to be able to save my right leg, and that whenever I was ready, I was going to have to make the decision to amputate my second leg. And then I ended up amputating it when I was 14 is when I finally made the decision that
Oh.
it had to go.
Yeah. So, and um, was your mom, was that in the plan already? Like when she first brought you home, okay, eventually she's gonna have some surgery, or just?
I think she knew for sure that when because my mom was also, she's a speech pathologist at a university, but then she also works with kids with learning disabilities, and so she's used to seeing a lot of kids with special needs, and that's who she wanted, was to adopt a child specifically with special needs, just because she had the resources from her insurance and she wanted to help. And she took the pictures that she was given from the orphanage and show them to a doctor. And I didn't know that it was planned at all. To me, it was a whole surprise.
Right.
Like, I will never forget. The first leg was totally fine.
How was that when they said, hey, your mom said, now we're going to amputate your leg? I mean, how did you receive that?
So we had, like, my mom, every time I had any big major surgery in my life, she would do her best to basically make a home-cooked Ukrainian meal kind of thing. So very quickly, because I had a lot of surgeries, I started associating home-cooked meals, Ukrainian food, to like surgery. But it was still good. I still loved it because it was still part of my home. And so she made that, and then we had a goodbye party for my leg, and then, just.
Then you wake up, I mean, because I talked to Lara about that as well. You wake up in the morning, I mean, after the surgery, and you look there. Yeah. And so, how was that?
Well, I think that's what the weird thing for me was. I went through it 2 separate times. One, I was 9, I was a kid, and just didn't really understand and grasp the magnitude of amputation and what that meant. I thought it was going to come back the next morning. I thought it was going to be gone, away on vacation, and it was coming back. And then it realized that no, but then I was able to kind of keep up with my friends and be more active and be pain-free. It wasn't until the right leg that the second leg amputated, that was just a really bad experience because the only reason why I finally told the doctors I'm ready to amputate my second leg was if they could promise me that they could save my knee. Because when you have amputations below the knee, you just are stable. You're missing one less joint. Because like for someone like Lyra and I, yeah, we're missing 2 feet, 2 ankles, and 2 knee joints,
Knee
and
joint.
that's a lot. Like to be
Uh,
missing 4 joints. And the doctor last minute, he said, okay, but then last minute when I'm walking into the operation room on the happy juice, about to go under for the operation, he says that we looked at the video and realized that we're gonna have to go above the knee. But I do not remember this because I was already like, they already started pumping you with so much pain medicine, and I had so much anxiety, so they gave me that as well. Because at 14, I was more aware of.
yeah, I mean, it's a big thing. So I mean, so after that, do you think that that was the change that you needed, to have that second leg? Did that give you more freedom, to do?
At first, it did not give me any freedom. It did the opposite. It took my freedom away because it was such a last minute surgery and call he made. He didn't leave enough of the skin to close up the suture. So
Mhm.
he put my leg in a cast that you're never supposed to do an amputation just because if anything happens, you need to get to it.
Right away? Yeah.
And then I had an epidural. They told me that I had really low pain tolerance because I kept complaining how the pain medicine wasn't working. But what ended up happening is that epidural shifted from the leg that I just had amputated all the way to the leg that was amputated when I was 9. So I felt everything on that first leg that was just like came out of surgery. And what happened was I was feeling the pain of like there's a huge 50-cent size piece hole that was open that you could see the bone and the ligaments that never closed up.
Wow.
And so I had to be on the hospital on the wound vac for about 6 to 8 months, away from my friends, away from school, away from my home. And I think that's where kind of a little bit of just like
So
depression then.
I mean, do you think all those things combined kind of create like a thick skin that kind of gets you, dude? I don't care what comes my way. I'm gonna go.
I don't know about the thick skin, but it definitely created a fire within me. Like it made me realize this is no way of living for me is by just living in a bed and just watching everything. And that if the minute I had the opportunity, like it just lit that fire. Is I'm not gonna sit and watch the world go by. I want to be doing things. I want to be active. And I think it just kind of fueled me even more.
I mean, was that something that like with me, for example, when I was injured, you know what I mean? You go through that. It's a little different. Yes and no, because I mean, going through an amputation is, I mean, it's the same thing, no matter, because you were born a certain way. You go
Yeah, what's different? Because like for me, I could plan it. You didn't get a chance to plan it and like sit down
yeah,
either.
like I talked before, I sat around the house for like, what am I going to do now? You know what I mean? So you go, I went to the little stage, okay, because your whole life was dialed in, and now you have to change, right? There was an event where some of my friends came to see me, one of my guys, and he talked to me and kind of, I saw the light in a way, I was still
Mm.
to move on, you know what I mean? So, I mean, it was like specific, especially with sports. Is there something that kind of sparked your interest in sports and that kind of changed the way, your future was going to happen?
Yeah, sports completely changed my life. I got into sports around 13. I tried rowing for the first time. That was I've done ice skating and horseback riding, but rowing was the first sport that I went to and was training. And um, basically, so when I started rowing, I started when I had one real leg, and then I had to stop because I had the amputation of the second leg, and that's all I wanted to do was to get back on the water. And for me, I think sports not so. I think it became an outlet for me, not necessarily at first of I'm just really competitive. I am very competitive, but it wasn't just that. It was what?
Medicine, you
It
know,
was medicine. It was totally medicine. It was my outlet. It was my therapy. Because around that time, around 16 through 19 years old, a
Hmm.
lot of memories were coming back from Ukraine that I just suppressed really deep down and did not want to acknowledge that they ever happened. And instead of going and talking through therapy where you have to verbalize because then it makes it all real,
Real.
I was able to put it into sports and pull against the oars, and it was a physical release. And like, even to this day, I'm very competitive, but I every time I race or train, I just zone out and just
Do your thing.
feel 10 times lighter afterwards because it's just I have so much therapy still to be like letting things out.
I mean, number one, that's something that I really, really support and believe in. It's therapy. Because
Yeah.
mental health it's out there, and a lot of people hide behind it, man, and especially men. Women, I think they're more open to towards therapy and everything, but men have a major problem, especially former military guys. You know what I mean?
Mm.
They see that as a weakness, and I see that as part of the game, part of the plan to get your life on track. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah. Well, it kind of gives you a new sense of appreciation for what you have and the new normal that you have in your new body too. And I didn't realize how physically and mentally strong I was until sports too. So I'm very much of a firm believer. I think every kid, whether you don't have to go through, like a life-changing thing in your life to get into sports. It can just be like have a bad day at school, whatever. It's just sports is just such an amazing outlet in general in life, and just the endorphins that are released and the friendships that you create, and you realize
and
the value of hard work.
sometimes that can be challenging to people, because like you and I, Ralph as well, Ruth, Gerard, and we got David here, and, Odessa and Rob. We love sports, because it brings us positive things to our lives. You know what I mean? But then you have, on the other hand, you have people, that think, you need to have that in your life, or you don't feel like you are yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What do you feel about
I completely understand that because so in 2018, the past uh, Winter Games in South Korea, I ended up having an injury and breaking my elbow, and I went from not potentially being like the number one favorite to win all the races to potentially not even going to the games anymore. But it was during that time after thankfully things worked out, but I had two surgeries in 2018 and 19. And when the doctors are telling you you might not be able to use your arm in the same way,
that? Right,
it kind of hit me that, oh my gosh, my entire identity is in sport and only in
right,
sport.
yeah.
It was scary because I didn't have any identity outside of sport.
Right. And which brings to a point, that's I've been doing this for a long time. You know that, right? I mean, since 1990. I've been really.
Yeah.
My first racing chair in 1990. I did my first race in 1990. So, and I did my last race in 2015. So, 25 years of pretty much steady racing, and that becomes your identity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That and in my eyes, I think sports is the number one tool that we can use, to get back out there, to get back in life, and do the things. When did you get serious about sports? Meaning, okay, I want to go to the Paralympics. I want to do this more than just my, weekend warrior thing. Was that I want to go and do this to the top?
So around 2009, 2008 is where I first learned about the Paralympics, and it was
Winter, winter
this.
Paralympics.
So this is in 2008 was Beijing in the summer, and I started out as a summer athlete. I had no intentions of ever being a winter athlete. I did not know that there were Paralympics in the Winter Games either. But it was rowing. So somebody at the Louisville Adapted Rowing Club, they said, "Oh, you should. You're young." At that time, I was maybe 17, 18, and somebody said, "You should look into this. And if you could do it, you're really young. You have a lot of potential." And I looked up the Paralympics and what it was, and fell in love with, at that time, I was very competitive. I was ready for that next transition of just like wanting to race everything I saw and every person I saw. I wanted to turn into a race. Even if it was a 5-year-old kid, I was ready to take him down. I was really competitive. But and then in 2008, what happened was I tried to make the team, but I didn't make the team. And I think that for me is when everything just clicked and I devoted my entire life to sports, to the higher level, to the Paralympics, because at that time, the director of the adapted rowing program for the US rowing team basically said, you're way too small to be an athlete. You're never going to make it at this high level. You just need to find something else to do, or just like go into like fashion or something that's like you're supposed to do. And it made me angry because I was getting judged once again by my appearance. Because I'm not a jacked athlete. I'm very tiny. And you know what? It's like now it's like good. People look at me and they probably think that I'm not going to be that strong, but
More.
it doesn't come in like muscle. It comes in, you have to be mentally strong too.
Yeah, that's.
Mm.
And
I,
when did you try winter sports for the first time?
I tried cross country skiing at the end of 2013, right at the start of 2014, like January-ish.
And was it like a clinic or something like that, or just a little camp?
It was an accident. So like I was at an event for rowing. It was about basically that we were in Texas, and it was when there was a CrossFit gym there, and they were adapting CrossFit for a lot of it was just military guys. And so the CrossFit used the rowing erg and the ski erg into those workouts. And so I was there to show how we adapted the rowing erg. And then there was a coach there from the cross country team. And when I was taught, she overheard that I wanted to try skiing. But in my mind, the skiing that I was talking about was the really cool downhill, like snowboarding with the cool goggles and the helmet, not high little hats and spandex and sunglasses. That's not what I was. And then like I want to go down the hill, not against the hill, like up the hill. But she invited me to the camp, and I'm just really lucky that they saw one little hope or like a potential in me, because I broke everything when I first got on snow. I was just like a Tasmanian devil and just would go so hard but go nowhere. I was just putting energy, wasting it by trying. Yeah, it was.
She was the first ever U.S. athlete to win a Nordic gold at the World Championships last year. Has never won a gold medal, though, at the Paralympic Winter Games. And now Oksana Masters charging to the finish line with Eskau behind and then Zanolina in third. But it is Oksana Masters, the 28-year-old from Louisville, Kentucky, hammering home, bursting to the finish line, and she's a first-time gold medal winner at the Paralympic Games.
That's pretty amazing.
It's crazy. It took me, I started out on London 2012 was my first Paralympic Games, and it took me London, Rio, and then Sochi, and then my fourth Paralympic Games to get my first gold medal. And I think it's hard is a lot of people just see me and they're like, oh, all you know is success. You win everything that you try in, and they don't understand, because when I first tried rowing, I did not make the national team. I did not make the first national team in cycling at all. It took me 3 years to make the national team for cross country skiing. And
some people look at athletes that do well. They look at you, okay, or even me, a low para. You double amputee high, so everything's easy for you. That's how they see it. Yeah. Everything kind of comes easy. They don't see the hard work. You know what I mean? That guy Ralph sees the hard work.
Yes, sometimes. But the question is how you can do it all the year, all the time, and to be still motivated every single day.
What motivates you?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. I think because it's hard, because like for me rowing, I'm just also really bad at like setting the bar unrealistically high for myself, because who knows, maybe you'll reach it, but like I've just always been that person that just sets the bar really high. But I've also, like, when I got into rowing,
Yeah.
I didn't make the first games. I made it in London 2012, and we were the underdogs. We were not expected to do well. Our goal was to make it to the A final of that event, and that's it. Next thing you know, we are fighting out against the British boat for a bronze medal. And that first race for me gave me the taste of the Paralympics and the podium. And then I ended up injuring my back in 2013, and that's what transitioned me into cross country skiing.
Okay.
And I was horrible in cross country skiing, but I was so hungry to
take you to reach like a, an elite level.
Yeah, and I wanted, my motivation for cross country skiing was Sochi because it was so close to my home country where I was born, Ukraine. And then I think that for me the motivation remains because now as a cross country skier,
right.
I've been very lucky to, my hard work is paying off, and I'm in a very different position. I'm at the position where I want to back up my results that I have and that I achieve. It's when people say it's harder to maintain the number one ranking in the world, it is absolutely harder. You're fighting for seconds and seconds, and there are people coming in that are 30% faster within a year, and you're like, holy moly. And then for me, then I transition into cycling and get to work with you guys. And I'm that baby where I'm that person that I know I have free speed, because for me, it's just experience. I don't have the lack of experience. The lack of experience still. And I'm very, very new at it. And I respect the people that are where I want to be. Like Andrea Askow is a teammate she's my teammate, not my teammate, but like my competitor in cross country skiing and cycling. And she's done it at both levels very high and achieved both. And it just shows to me I can do it. And that I want to do that. I think that balance of being good at cross country skiing and having that hunger of like from cycling,
right,
kind of like melts into the skiing and then melts into the
it's absolutely it's you get my biggest respect for this, because the whole year without any stop, with all this travel, with all this training, I can imagine, because I see 15 years now athletes, and the most athletes need a break. But you're going from the winter into the summer, from the summer into the winter, from the winter into the summer. And it's incredible. And it's fantastic to see how you made this the last season and now how you work. So you can be proud for this kind of work you did the last weeks and months.
And mentorship. Was there someone that played a role in your life, that kind of helped you steer your path? I know Gay. Your mom. She must have been a huge, asset.
My mom. She's just like my rock in life and my hero and everything. And she's the reason why I got it. We could not be more opposites. She's more the academic route where she loves to read and learn and stuff. And I just want to be active and doing things physically. And she's the one who got me into sports and opened that door. But she never pushed me until I was ready to walk through that door. And then I decided to like, okay, I'll try this. But growing up, when I did get into sports, I did not have that role model. Like, I understand that kids they look up to Serena Williams or LeBron James, and like they're people that are just Michael Jordan and stuff, but I didn't look up to them because they didn't look like me. So I didn't know how I could relate to that or become that if they, like, I can't relate to that. And I think that's what, when Ralph and you were asking, how do you also like just stay motivated through the seasons? And I did not have that mentor to look up to see what's possible. And that's what I want. I think, like, yes, I'm competitive, but I want to give that back and be that little physical example of like, if you want to, there's not a dream that's too crazy. Like, you can do it. You have to have the right support, the right ethic, but you can do it. And it's not going to be easy, but anything is possible.
Anything is possible, yes. And check this out.
I didn't have that person to look up to that had both of the legs amputated, that was a girl, that was competitive and successful as an athlete.
I specifically feel like I connect to Oksana just because our stories are so similar.
And I want to be just like a physical reminder, just something there to know, like if you have any questions about, I don't know, legs, boys, dresses, whatever it is, like, I got you.
If I can look up to her and how she has overcome her adversities, that I can too.
She's someone who's so young and 16. I just want to like give her the entire world and like make sure that she knows to just like be fearless in whatever she wants to do.
It's just very inspirational, and I'm really grateful to be on the team. I don't know what my life would be like without sports, honestly. It's the best thing ever.
She is so stinking cute.
And she really looks up to you, you know, and so does a lot of other people, you know, a lot of younger ladies, younger, you know, kids, because, you know, I mean, I think you show them the possibilities, you know what I mean? You show what can be done, you know what I mean? It's not your job, you know, to be, you know, that inspiration, you know, that we hate, the I word, but it comes with the territory, you know what I mean? I'm the same way, you know, it's like, you know, I would love to change that, but that's obviously I think it's going to be there. So what do you think about that? You know, mentorship. I mean, do you think the value of that?
I think mentorship's very, very important. I never look at it as a job to be a mentor to someone. I just genuinely want to give back what sports has given me, because for me it has given me a purpose in life and a second chance at life in so many ways. And I just want, like, I don't think anyone should be robbed from an opportunity to not be able to experience something just because they can't see themselves doing it because they haven't seen someone doing it. But having someone that like Lyra and I, like, on that start line, yeah, she's one of the people I'm going to be thinking about, because I want her to just believe in herself.
Right.
And you're not going to necessarily, doesn't mean you're going to win every single race. Lord knows in cycling, I have a lot of work to do and I am just crawling my way into it. But it's that moment when you finally achieve that race and everything comes together for you, that you look back at all those days and years and just like, it's just such an amazing feeling, and you made this happen with an amazing group of people that supported you. And it's important to have that someone in your shoes feeling what you feel in that way. If you have a bad day or whatever, you could just feel like, you know, gosh, cycling's really hard. Equipment's really hard. You can relate to it.
We can relate to to the core, you know, with this young lady, you know, with Lara. So, I mean, I'm happy that you guys are able to connect.
Yeah, it's so canny how our stories are just like so similar. I can't, like, holy cow. Like, I'm not a whole, like, everything happens for a reason, but I truly believe, like, in some weird way, like,
when I told her that I knew you and I was going to introduce you to her, and she almost had a conniption, man. Like, what? Her eyes were like, what? You know, I asked her, do you know Oksana Masters? She was like, what? You know, and then when she met you, I mean, you guys clicked. I was so happy about that, you know, which was one of the reasons for the team, you know, for people to work together, you know, help each other, and at the same time, you know, show the possibilities for everybody from, you know, from the youngest one, you know, to the oldest one, single mom, no legs, paralyzed, doesn't matter. You know?
Yeah, I think it's important. Like, I mean, there's so many people can see themselves in your story. And I think that's a cool thing about, like, sharing those experiences and being that role model, is you don't know what aspects someone's gonna be, like, connect to, and how you're gonna literally change their life and how they view themselves from then on out.
Right.
And the cool thing about the CAF, and CAF's the first ever to have an all women's hand cycling team only, and so it has someone's like as young as Lyra to a wide range of athletes, and they're athletes that are newly injured, trying to get into sports, and just everyone has a different, and that's the cool thing about sports. If you want to get out of it, you can.
Right. I mean, that was the great thing about, you know, the idea of coming up with a team like that, is because, you know, it's not focusing only on the elite, you know, or not focusing only on the people that are at, you know, at the bottom, bring them all together. They can learn from each other. Even the person, myself, the person that's just helping things up, I get so much out of it. You know what I mean? Because I want people to be able to have the same experiences that I did with sports. It brought so much awesomeness to my life. So I can't really compete anymore. I can ride my bike, but I can't be the competitor that I want to be. You know what I mean? So how do I find purpose? How do I find a path? Is through passing on, like you said, passing on the knowledge that you acquired and experience that you acquired through all these years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially like, I mean, obviously I'm going to be biased as a cross country skier. I want everybody to be doing cross country skiing and biathlon and cycling because they're my sports. But especially as the Paralympic Games are going to be coming to LA 2028, and there is someone like Lyra or a 10-year-old kid can like watch a sport and get their eyes on it and be like, this is so cool. They can go to LA 2028 and be on the start line. And that is the one thing that I got into sports. And like, this is a shame how the women's field in cycling in general is just so underrepresented right now. And I don't know why that is, if it's because women just are told other sports are better or whatever it is, but
I mean, even in the able-bodied community, there's a small percentage of women coming to the disabled part of it. We still have a smaller percentage of women that get hurt or in a chair, and then from that even smaller amount of women that are active, that want to get into sports. You know what I mean? So that's right. One of the reasons for the team is trying to find all of them, that are out there hiding, to bring them out and be part of this, movement through.
well, and that's what's like also really cool about Nexus, because you guys work with the elite of the elite, current world champions, Paralympic champions,
Yeah.
you and Ralph writes the training plans and stuff, but then you also work with like supporting just the same amount of time and passion to those athletes
Yes.
that are at the start of their careers. And it's so incredible to see like genuine passion for both.
I mean, what this guy Ralph is the one that keeps me going, because of I see his passion, for it's funny because I look at all of the athletes, all of the guys in chairs, amputees, and for him, he's one of the guys that doesn't see any of the things. He doesn't see the leg missing. He doesn't see the chair. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you look at me, he's looking at my numbers like I'm a professional athlete, like anybody else. And that's how we want to bring the coaching here to the U.S. and show the people that are coaching. I'm not coaching because you're missing a leg, and because you are good and you have potential. And that's our plan. It's going to slowly change the perception, not only of the athletes, but of the people out there looking at disabled sports.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Maybe I can tell you a story about this. When I'm telling my friends or some people around me what I'm doing, after a while I'm coming back with them, saying to me, what's about them? Are they ill? Have they some illness or something like this? And I'm thinking, about what they talking? And I don't see any illness or something like this. I see you as an athlete. I see for sure your numbers, and I see the goals, nothing more.
Right.
And this is, yeah. So, and it's sometimes weird when they ask me about a spinal cord injury and seeing it like an illness or something like this.
Yeah.
And I don't see it because I see you as an athlete, and there's no difference between you and someone with legs. So you have all the same goals. You want to be the best, and this is my motivation to make you better each day, each
Was
week.
there like a specific person that like, what made you, like, how did your viewpoint like that change? I'm just curious as like a coach, and just like roles completely reversed.
Say it again.
Like, how did you kind of like come to have that, like when you see like us, like, or like not us, but like you see me as an athlete, you don't see like my legs, you don't see Carlos's wheels, you just see the potential of the athlete that person has.
Yeah, it's maybe it's a way how I have the first contact with people with a spinal cord injury. It was like I was working in a lab for testing, and someone asked me, Ralph, do you want to work with spinal cord injury people? And I have no idea about that. Nothing. No idea. And then I'm starting work to get all the information about spinal cord injury. And at the same time, I met a lot of German athletes, top athletes. And I've seen, okay, training is working. Doesn't matter if there's a leg or a spinal cord injury. It's only about different specific points of the body to make you stronger. And then it was, okay, sometimes I forgot already that there's someone with an amputee, and I have to remind myself, oh, what was the reason why he's in his chair? I don't know exactly right now. So it's not the main point. And if you've done, for example, with Carlos, Race Across America, there's nothing what you're seeing about wheelchair users. You see only athletes cranking the whole day, 18, 20K per hours through the country. And there's nothing like an amputee or like a handicap. It's only a guy who is
no brain.
But he's doing his work. So why I have to think about this in a different way and to think that I have a handicap or something like that. I know there is a handicap, and I know there's some points to consider.
Yeah.
But as an athlete, you're an athlete.
Doesn't matter.
Number one.
And Oksana, I have Ruth here. Can you see her? Ruth. Can you see? You guys can see each other, right?
I can't see her.
Hold on. Unmute. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Ask Oksana a question.
Oksana, hi. Lovely to see you. I actually saw you in Bukati in 2018. I was out with the GB Paranordic team. I'm a neurophysio, and I was out there just helping out with the classification process of one of the GB athletes. So it's amazing to be on a call with you now. So as I say, I'm a neurophysio. I work with people with neurological conditions, spinal cord injuries, brain injuries, all sorts of things. And I am a budding triathlete myself. And just, I mean, you're a testament to the incredible power of sport, in people's lives. And I'm really keen to promote that amongst my neuro clients. I live in a little county called Cornwall in the UK. Hey?
In paradise. That place is amazing.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. That's where people come for the holidays in the UK. It's lovely. But we don't have very much para sport is not big down here. It is in other parts of the country, obviously. So I'm doing my best to promote it as much as I can, and really to encourage people that I'm working with as clients to see the benefits of it. I think one of the things that maybe perhaps is a barrier to people getting involved is when they're in their rehab. Often that can feel like enough of an uphill battle. I'd be really interested to know from you, at what point did you think, okay, I've actually got enough mental energy now to deal with my rehab, but also throw that energy into something else like sport? I mean, do you identify with that kind of battle, if you like have I got enough energy to deal with my rehab? So for example, Carlos, you're another good person to ask, having had a spinal cord injury, sometimes just dealing with that is enough for people. And I think it's hearing from you guys, You know, at what point you think, okay, I've got energy for more mental energy and physical energy to then participate in sport as well.
Yes, I can answer that, or Oksana can answer that. You can answer that, Oksana.
Yeah, well, I think, Carlos, I think we're going to have two different viewpoints. I'd love to hear what you're going to say, because I think like we're just different experiences for sure.
You know, there's two things, Ruth, that I learned, okay? And this is very important because good and bad, you know what I mean? This is, and I use myself as an example because, you know, I'm being honest about it. What happened was when I got hurt, okay, I got a lot of attention, right? When I was hurt, the way I was hurt and everything back in '89. So I got all the best treatments, okay? Everything was available to me, okay? So I got into sports right away, okay? And then I did really well. So I kept all these years racing, doing really well, traveling, living the life, okay? But what happened is that didn't help in the beginning with sports is that I didn't have enough time to deal with this, you know, to its entirety. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I'm good. And then you have all this stuff coming at you that you want to, that you forget about the stuff, you know, the paralysis, all those things. Yes, and they're there, but they're milder, you know what I mean? And then as you get older, like myself, you get to an age around 50 or so, like, you know, I can't do sports like I used to anymore. You know what I mean? Saying like we talk about, Oksana, we start losing our identity as an athlete, okay? And now, since you didn't have time to deal with the stuff back then, because you were busy with the medicine of sport, you know what I mean? Now the stuff start coming. Slowly, you know, takes a toll until you get yourself together. But, you know, yes, you know, sports is amazing. It gets you out the door doing things. But at the same time, if you're not, like you said, if you're not ready for it, you know, it may be a detriment, you know, which is a really good point. When do you think, you know, that you have enough energy to deal with your, you know, your daily living and then have enough energy to get out there and still perform, work hard, have goals, you know, to achieve? It's a pretty good question because, you know, if you would have asked me the same question, you know, 10 years ago, I would say, yeah, sports is the best, it's awesome. But now, a little bit of life experience, I can see looking back that, yeah, it was awesome, you know, but I maybe wasn't ready for it at that time. You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah.
Can I say 2 points? So within my last 15 years, I met a lot of young athletes, older athletes, and in Germany we had a system where there was a guy with a wheelchair within the clinics. And if you see this guy with a chair, how he's doing the sport in the easiest way is very helpful for everyone.
Yes.
Because if you see someone who is already in a chair and is able to do some easy table tennis or hand cycling, this is a very important first step to see someone with an injury to do a sport.
Yes.
And in Germany, hand cycling was growing very quickly because of this one guy. He was putting all of the injured people into the bike, and we met so Bernd Jeffre, all the good athletes because of him.
That's how they started.
Yes. And the other thing is very, very small steps. Yeah. So as soon as possible, and then very small steps, like 5 minutes with a crank, only moving 5 minutes. So, and both points are mostly very helpful to get people into the sport.
Sure.
And Ruth, Rob, friend of mine here. Do you know Liz Luthern? Do you know Liz?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's how you and I met. That's how we connected. I think it was through Liz, Facebook.
I think it was because I think she was involved in your grassroots para triathlon training camp in the US.
Okay. Yes.
Did she come over for that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I met.
So I was put in touch with Liz because I had a friend who was a guide for a GB sight impaired triathlete, and she put me in touch with Liz, and then through Liz I saw you on Facebook and and the training camp that she'd been involved with. Yeah.
And then, is that how you got yourself kind of started with para sports, or no? Like your interest in para sports, or was it because?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have a huge. Basically, when I went self-employed, I was a neurophysio in the NHS for a long time, and I went self-employed just a couple of years ago, and it just opened up a whole world to me. You know, I could just follow my passions. And I think parasport had always been my passion, but you're so busy in the NHS, just, you know, doing the essential stuff. There's not much time to be growing that sort of thing. But as soon as I went self-employed, I was like, right, that is what I love. That's what I want to get more involved in. And I started volunteering at para triathlon events, you know, being a water handler and that sort of thing, helping people in and out of the water. Yeah, just want to get as involved as I can, really. And then really just trying to get, grow the interest in it, because I think, I mean, especially para triathlon and para Nordic ski, you know, there's a fair bit of kit that you need. Just, we were talking about kit last time you did a webcast. But, you know, just getting the kit is very expensive for people.
That's something.
So I've seen what CAF's doing. CAF looks like an amazing charity.
I mean,
absolutely incredible.
All the time. There's nothing like it in the world, you know what I mean? And it's growing, and it's going to make more and more of a difference. You know what I mean? My personal you know, goal is to be able to, you know, provide access, you know, to people. Like, for example, there was a young lady, Hoda, from Egypt that I met online. You know, she was has a leg disability, you know, she can't walk, but I got a racing chair. But that's what I want. I want to be able to find people in like remote countries that have no access whatsoever to anything like that, we will be able to help them, you know, and completely change their lives. I mean, that's one great thing that the Challenge Athletes Foundation does, you know, is provide that life-changing stuff. But anyway, listen, guys, we've been here for over an hour. Oksana, you know, thank you so much for doing this for us, you know, and with us. The one last thing I would like to talk. I want you to answer, you know, which people look at athletes like yourself, you know, successful athletes, and how do you deal with failure?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh man, I don't know, because honestly, like I personally can just continue to grow and just remind myself to learn from the failures. And I think for me that I kind of came from a lot of failures. I didn't know success right away. Like it's not like I won every race I started and that's all I know. I had to work my way up, and I really respect that hard work and those moments where I did fail, because that's what actually pushed me to want to be better, and recognizing it and accepting it, and then using it as a tool to propel yourself to be a better person as an athlete and a person in general. But it's part of the game. Failure is part of the game. We are human. It's gonna happen.
And that's the hardest thing. One of the hardest things for me to try to explain to people is that people are afraid of trying different things, you know, because they get comfortable in their zone. They don't want to try anything new in case they fail. You're like, oh, you're going to be known as the person that failed at that. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think one of the tools that successful athletes have is that they don't care about failure. You know, they learn from it. You know what I mean? I'm not scared of trying something and failing and losing, because I haven't won anything. You know, won everything.
Well, one of the things, I think it's like, when you're afraid to fail, it shows that it means something to you. This means something and it's important to you. And I think that step one is something you need to recognize is you want this. You're not going to fail because you are starting it. You're doing the first steps to it. And there's no such thing as failure in that at all. And in order to keep growing up that.
Gotta keep trying and trying and trying. You know, the quick story, I mean, Ralph probably already heard this, but when I wanted to become a SEAL, right? I was in boot camp in Florida. So that's when I found out about the SEAL. The guy came in and talked about it. I want to do that. That's what I said. So they had to go and have a test at the pool. Have to swim 100 meters. 100 meters. I said, I can do that, no problem, right? So I jumped in the water, 25 meters into the swim, and I almost drowned. You know, and the guy, dude, to be a SEAL is a requirement. You gotta know how to swim. You know what I mean? A little bit. So, I mean, that was a huge failure right there. You know, I could have walked out of that pool, go back to my unit, you know, and go back into the Navy, never joined the SEALs, and my life would have been completely different, right? But I went, you know, I said, I want to do that. I want to do that. So I went, you know, learned how to swim, came back and took another test, and I passed. You know,
yeah.
Everything could have been different, you know. So that's one thing that the reason I brought that point is because I want people to see that, you know, one of the reasons that you are as successful as you are is because, you know, if you fail, it doesn't keep you back. You know what I mean? You still move forward.
Yeah, I think in cycling, it's something that I'm battling quite a bit, to be honest. Mm-hmm. Because I did not, like, I looked at myself after Rio. It's really hard because you have so many expectations sometimes when you have a reputation of maybe in other sports to be well and you're doing well, that they expect you to do something in another sport, and it's two different things. And I was devastated because I failed myself. I set out a goal, and that's what it felt like I failed my coach that was supporting me, and like my mom who financially was supporting me making this happen, and everything else that, like, I looked at Rio as a huge failure. And then I think it's really important to, like, it's okay to recognize it, accept it, take that time to kind of not mourn for it, but be frustrated, but then, like, make a choice, like, am I moving forward with this, or am I living in this failure, like, kind of thing, if you're going to stick in it. And I decided to, like, I want to prove to myself I was close enough in Rio. I know I can do it, and I'm determined, and that failure turned into determination. And that, I think, for me, is like, regardless of the results that come in the future of races, I'm already feel like I've one step above, like, my failure, and, like, I'm succeeding, because I think it's really hard to be an athlete when you're at a specific level, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, why didn't you win? You win everything. It's really hard. And then people are like, you're not a real cyclist. You don't belong here. It's really hard to hear comments like that, because it does happen. And I'm doing it to prove to myself, like, I don't care. I'm not doing it for the results. The results don't matter. It's about that, like, each year I want to better myself as an athlete and better myself as a whole, as a well-rounded athlete, not just one specific area kind of thing. And
what's ahead for, the person Oksana, not the athlete?
The person Oksana? I don't know why I thought it was a great idea to go back to school, but I'm back in class and I'm stressing so much. But I've been very fortunate to have a scholarship because of sports to go, and I'm working on my business degree right now. And my goal is to own a coffee shop one day. And Ralph, I saw that, like, you have a friend that opened up a coffee shop. That was really cool.
Right.
Congratulations.
It's only a friend of mine.
Hey, listen, guys, Oksana, thank you so much for being part of this. Please tell Aaron I'm coming for him. And tell him I love him, please. He knows that. And Ruth, thanks for being part of this. Ralph, want to say anything before we go?
It was, again, a very good session, and I'm looking forward to have 2 or 3 weeks later again a nice session. I don't know which guest we will have, but it's always a pleasure to be in contact with all of you all over the world.
Awesome. Ruth?
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed that, and I'll take all of this back and just share this message with the people that I work with. And You're all amazing. You inspire me. I always say I get 100% of my triathlon inspiration from para-athletes. 100% of my inspiration. So thank you.
Thank you, guys. All right. Bye-bye.